so greasy. Hi, and welcome back to the Dead Chicken Cooking Channel. Today I'm just going to be doing something very basic, but it's something that not everybody knows how to do, so I just thought I'd show them how I do it. And that is just to make basic pie crust recipe. That way you've got a whole bunch at once. I make it in bulk. I use a whole pound of lard at once, and that way I can freeze it later when I need it. And so I'm just going to go through this with you and show you how I do it. And thank you very much for watching. Okay, I've posted the recipe for you so you know exactly what we put into this, but right now we're just going to measure out our 5½ cups of flour. And I put it in a very large bowl so I have lots of room to mix. And I always level off the measuring cup with a knife. 2, and I always get confused counting. 3, 4, 5. For me, this is a fairly fail-proof recipe. I've never had any major failures with it. I use it for making all my pies and tarts. I do a lot of baking at Christmas time, and I make several dozen butter tarts and mince tarts and that type of thing. That's the flour. Now we put in 2 teaspoons of regular table salt. There we go. And I usually just blend it with a fork. Just to get that mixed in throughout the flour. And then I just took this tender flake pastry out of the fridge about an hour ago, so it's just right for working with. It's a little bit softened up. And I generally just take it and cut it up a little bit just to help me later with the pastry blending, because it makes it simpler if it's smaller than one big glob of lard. Just cut it up like that, kind of. There's nothing too precise about it. You just make it smaller. There we go. This is just, I have this pastry blender that I've had for years, and this is what I use for cutting it in. Set up that clip just so that you wouldn't have to watch me through the whole thing. It actually takes close to 5 minutes to get it to where it's the right size and mixture, and it should look somewhat like this when you're done. It's very important to get it properly blended. And now we will add our liquid to it, which is 1 egg. My hands are a little bit full of flour here, so I've got to wipe them off with this paper towel. And then we use 1 tablespoon of vinegar. Like so. And what I do is I just mix it together very lightly with a fork, just so it's blended and the egg is all mixed in like that. And then we just add enough water to make a cup, or a little bit more, because I usually find that a cup's not quite enough. So I usually put in a little bit more. There we are. It's a little bit under a quarter, 1 1/4 cups. I might not use it all. I just carefully, slowly add it to this. So I'm just going through that with a fork first, and I'll add some of this to it and stir as I go. See, it's starting to cling to my fork and come away from the sides of the bowl, so it looks like it's almost ready. If you put in too much liquid at this point, you can end up with a very, very tough pastry. But I think this will be just about right, judging by the amount of crumbs that aren't mixed in at the bottom. You got to make sure all of that becomes mixed together and sticking together like that. That's the important part, because if you have too much liquid, as I said, the pastry won't be as flaky. You have to just get the amount of liquid pretty well right on, and I just know, because I've done it so many times, when it's the way it should be. Sounds like I'm bragging, but not really. I've just done that so much, I know. And that's pretty well all there is to this, other than I just grab it once it's mixed together like this, and I carefully form it into a nice round ball. And one of these balls will make one double crust pie. I usually just cut it in half and roll it out. I work it a little bit with my hands to get it just even. And here is the second. They might not be perfectly all the same size, but they're pretty close. And as you can see, I didn't use all that liquid. It was pretty well exactly 1 cup that time, but it doesn't always work out that way for some reason. And then I can just, they'll keep in the fridge for probably about close to 10 days or so. But if you're going to be longer than that using it to make your pies, you're better off to freeze it and then just take it out the day before and let it thaw in your fridge to use up. And see, that's pretty good, because that came totally clean from the bowl. That's what we want. And then what I do with these bowls, these balls, pardon me, of pastry, I just put them in a Ziploc bag. And I store them that way. So that's all there is to making pie crust. Thank you very much for watching us today, and I hope I've been able to help you. Bye for now.